Welcome to the new video on HR skills, staffing. Human resource is the most valuable assets in an organization. To support this statement, whenever I am teaching human resource management, two important events comes to my mind. The first one is about Akio Morita, one of the most iconic businessmen of his time. He is the creator and founder of Sony Corporation. He began his business with only 20 employees and investment from his family. Now Sony Corporation is a $47 billion company. I like Akio Morita's famous quote on human resource management. No theory, no plan, no system of government can assure the success of the enterprise. Only people can do that. Another important episode worth noting here is why none of the Taj employees escaped from exit doors when there was a terror attack on hotel. Instead, served the customers till their last breath. The multimedia case study by a Harvard professor Rohit Deshpande on terror at the Taj Bombay, customer-centric leadership, the bravery and the resourcefulness shown by rank and file of employees during the attack is worth noting here. Deshpande said, even though the employees knew all the back exits in the hotel and could have easily fled the building, some stayed back to help the guests. The natural human instinct would be to flee, but they showed a heroic response. Not even the senior managers could explain the behavior of these employees, why they stayed. He cited an example of a general manager who insisted on staying even though after he learned that his wife and child had died in a fire on the hotel's top floor. Why they were so much loyal to the customers? The research has pointed out three amazing facts about benevolent HR policy of the hotel. Generous human resource policy of the Taj Hotel. Number one, they used to recruit frontline employees, high school graduates, not from top cities, but from small towns and small cities, based on behavior, not on grades. Small town and city people have hunger to work. If they come to big cities, and if they happen to work in a 5-star hotel like Taj, they are self-motivated. Number two, they train frontline employees as brand ambassadors. Let me put you this, what do you mean by brand ambassadors? Most of the marketing and advertising companies choose celebrities of high repute like famous, reputed football players, cricket players, actors and actresses to be their brand ambassadors for their product. Imagine frontline employees acting as brand ambassador of a 5-star hotel. You can realize the intensity of motivation they had. Number three, their reward system is based on customer feedback within 48 hours. No need to wait for yearly performance appraisal. No need to wait New Year's Day, Christmas, Diwali or Ramadan for bonus. They get rewards within 48 hours of their feedback. Because of that, they have shown to the customers are akin to king for them.
Human resources are the assets or wealth of a country on whom it can rely upon anytime. The need of the hour is to develop these resources. Human resource development is therefore a continuous process of sharpening the skills, knowledge of the people adopted by almost all organizations. Human resource management process activity starts with strategic human resource planning, recruitment process, selection criteria, induction and socialization of the new incumbents, training and development of staff, performance appraisal which leads to promotion, demotion, transfer and termination and further follow-up for human resource planning. Let me explain this in brief. Human resource management is a continuous process in any organization, you name it. It begins with HR planning. HR planning is a part of strategic plan wherein the organization used to determine how many people are required at a given point of time. Then starts recruiting and selecting. Recruitment and selection are two different phases. Some people think it is synonymous. We will discuss this in the following slides. After selection, the time comes for induction or orientation. This phase ranges from 1 week to 3 months, depending on the organization's culture and practice. After few months, a year training and development phase starts, wherein training department identifies areas and the staff to be trained. Then comes performance appraisal. The first appraisal for the new incumbent will be done in the first 3 to 6 months, depending on the policies of the organization. Sometimes it is called as probationary period. Then the yearly performance appraisal will be carried out, wherein all the employees will be rated according to their performance and increase in the salary will be fixed. Based on the performance appraisal, incumbents will be identified whether to promote or demote him or transfer or terminate him, and further follow-up action will be taken with human resource planning. It is a continuous ongoing process in all the organization. Human resource planning. Human resource planning, also referred to as personal planning. It involves getting the right number of qualified people into the right jobs at the right time. Human resource planning is a part of strategic plan. Why it is a part of a strategic plan? For example, a company needs 500 employees in the next 5 years. Employing 500 employees, it costs budgeting. There should be proper budgeting, and those 500 employees to be hired should be sanctioned by the top level managers. That's why it is a part of the strategic planning. Human resource planning process is the getting of the right number of qualified people into the right job at the right time. It is also referred as personal planning. While doing human resource planning, first question we need to ask to ourselves, where are we now? That means now we have maybe 2000 employees, we need another 200, 300, 500. Status quo of the organization should be studied. Human resource planning are not done in a haphazard way. It needs to be addressed certain parameters or issues. These issues are answered by certain tools. We call it as job analysis, skills inventories, job descriptions, and job specification. That's why we need to understand what is job analysis, what is job description, what is job specification, and what is skills inventory to do proper human resource planning. Human resource planning is also called as staffing process. In the staffing process or in the human resource planning, 4 elements to be studied in great detail. One is job analysis, another is job description, job specification, and skills inventory. Job analysis, what is this? It is determining through observation and study the pertinent information relating to the nature of a specific job. It leads to job description and job specifications. Normally, job analysis is done by the senior engineers in the organization. For example, they need an operator, specialized operator. What type of operator they need? What should be his qualification and experience? That is done by the senior engineer. Sometimes it is done by the supervisor. Sometimes it is done by the team leader. For example, in the IT company, the team leader and the supervisor, he will decide by analyzing the job, okay, we need to have another programmer, he should be specialized in cloud technology, or maybe he should be specialized in artificial intelligence. While doing job analysis, they will check what are the skills and qualifications needed for the new incumbent. Based on the job analysis, two documents will be prepared, that is job description and job specification. What is job description? It is a written statement that identifies the task, duties, activities, responsibilities and performance results required for a particular job. Then there is another document that is prepared after doing job analysis. We call it as a job specification. It is also a written statement that identifies the abilities, skills, traits and attributes necessary for successful performance in a particular job. Now you will have little confusion with the job description and job specification. It looks to you something same. It is not exactly the same. There is a wide difference between these two things that I will discuss in the next slide. Another important thing we need to focus on while doing staffing or human resource planning, that is skills inventory. Human resource information system, we call it as in some of the companies we call it as a human resource information system. It consolidates informations about the organization's current human resources such as education, qualification, experience, salary and job history, seniority, health information and family information. It is nothing but a database of all the employees. Managers, they have to take decisions while hiring the employees, while making selections of the employees. Before making selections of the employee, at a click of a button, they will come to know how many people are there with a particular qualification. If they want to check how many masters are there in an organization, at a click of a button, they can get it. If they want to check how many IT professionals are there, they can check with human resource information system. Within the IT, how many are specialized in artificial intelligence, how many are specialized in cloud technology, how many have been specialized in Java applications, that also they can get it at a click of a button. So this is one of the most important database most of the company they used to acquire. Look here, this is a sample of job descriptions. If you focus on this, it is a detailed information about the job. Here you will find title of the job. Within the title, they will have categories. For example, title will be the operator, mechanical operator or electrical operator, maybe operator in the processing industry. Job category here up 1, 2, 3, maybe operator 1, operator 2, operator 3. Location, where he has to work. Here they will specify the name of the organization or the specific department, operation department. Travel required. Here they will write none. There are certain jobs like a marketing people, marketing person, marketing manager or maybe salesperson, they will write travel required. Yes, he needs to travel frequently. Level, salary range. What is the level of the incumbent? Whether his level is 9, 8, 9, 10, whatever it may be, depending on the company's policies. Salary range. Position type. Full-time, part-time, job sharing or contract. Whether we need to have contract employee or we need to have full-time employee on the payroll. That position is very much important. If it is written contract employee, if the manager is hiring the person on the payroll, the top managers, they will reject. Sometimes we need a part-time employee also. HR contract, human resource contract number, date posted, when the job is posted in the website, will train the applicants. Sometimes the applicants will be given training, sometimes they don't give the training also. Posting expires. Job brief description of the job. Here they will write brief description of the job. Responsibilities. This is the job responsibilities, what he should do on the job. Details of responsibilities. Some jobs used to have 5 responsibilities, some jobs used to have 3 responsibilities, some jobs used to have 10 responsibilities. There are certain jobs they used to have something like 15 to 20 responsibilities for managerial jobs. That is why job description will be running 3 to 4 pages for the key positions. Requirement. Sometimes we call it as a requirement, or sometimes we write here as a qualifications required, experience required, qualifications or experience. Here they will mention whether the candidate should be a BS degree holder, whether he should be mechanical, electrical, whether he should be diploma holder, whether he should be master's degree, whether he should be PhD. Reporting to whom he will report, whether he will report to the manager, team leader, whatever it may be. Supervisor, reporting to the mechanical supervisor. This is the example here. Working conditions. Working conditions, some jobs needs to work 100% within the premises in the air condition, like administrative jobs. Most of the administrative jobs like secretary, okay, they have to work 100% within the premises. Some of the jobs, maybe for example a civil engineer, they will write 50% he has to work within the premises in the air condition office, 50% he has to work in the field, because he has to make survey, he has to sketch drawings, he has to work under the hot sun. In case of civil engineer, I am telling. Like this, for marketing people, they will write maybe 25% they have to work within the premises in the air conditioned room, 75% they have to travel. It depends on the job. This is a sample job description. Now you can have clear idea what is job specification. Job specification is a specific detail, not more detail. Look here in the newspaper, how we advertise. For advertising in the newspaper, we need to have brief information. That is why we need to have two different documents. In the job specifications, look here, you have the job specifications of some of the people in the education department. Lecturer, regular or visiting, and visiting they have written, look here. In the job description also we had whether he is a part-timer or whether he is a regular or a contract employee. Here look here, lecturer, some organizations they want to have regular, some organizations they used to have part-timer, sometimes they have visiting professor. For mechanical, chemical, civil, electrical, electronic, mathematics, eligibility, master degree, BSc, so on and so forth. So within this short span of space, they have explained. This is a good example of what you call job specification. Another important thing that is related to human resource planning is skills inventory. Sometimes we call it as a human resource information system. What is this human resource information system? It used to have 6 broad categories. This is a sample. Some companies they used to have 10 broad categories, 7 broad categories. Generally, most of the organizations they used to have 6 broad categories in the human resource information system. Skills, that includes education, job experience, training, etc. Specialized qualifications, memberships in the professional group, maybe his doctorate, maybe he has written many papers, so on and so forth. Special achievements. Then salary and job history, present salary, past salary, date of raises, when he got the increase in the salary, various jobs held, etc. Maybe some people used to have so many jobs. First he is an operator, then he became team leader, then he become engineer, then he become senior engineer. These are the various jobs held. Company data, benefits plan and data. What are the privileges company is giving? Benefit plan, data, retirement age information, seniority, so on and so forth. Capacity of the individuals, scores on the test, how much he has scored in certain test. Maybe it is maybe TOEFL, maybe IELTS, maybe some of the in Canada and USA, mostly in Canada, they need to have this test also for further positions, even for engineers, doctors, for everybody, they need these tests. Capacity of the individuals, scores on the test, health information, family information, etc. Special preferences of the individuals, whether the person want to work in the same location, same province, same state, or maybe throughout the country. Some people, they will give preference, they want to work throughout the country. So this information is feeded in the company's database, and at a click of a button, managers and a decision maker, if they put the ID number of the employees, just they have to put the ID number of the employees, they will get all the information. What is his name, what is his father's name, what is his surname, what are his qualifications, experience, from how many years he is working, whether he is working for 10 years, in maybe if he is working for 20 years, in 20 years in which department he worked for 20 years, what was his first salary, what was his salary after 5 years, what is his present salary, and what are the benefits he has availed from the organizations, how many children he is having, how many dependents he is having, whether he is eligible for housing, whether he got company housing, or whether he is residing outside the company, then whether he is having social insurance or not. So many things at a click of a button, managers used to get it. That is, we call it as a skills inventory. This human resource information system, skills inventory, is very much required for the recruitment and selection purpose. Not only it is required for recruitment and selections, it is a excellent tool for the managers to give promotions, to demote, promote, transfer, to give key positions, so on and so forth. Human resource forecasting. In human resource planning, when we are making plans, we need to forecast how many people are required in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because human resource planning is very much required. It is not like other planning, financial plan. For example, financial plan. If there is something lagging in the financial plan, they can go to the banks and they can get the overdraft increased. Maybe in case of human resource, this is not available in the open market. It is not available. Human resource is not available in the supermarket. It is not available in the banks. So that's why they need to do perfect forecasting. So it attempts to determine the future human resource needs of the organization in the light of the organization's objectives. It will answer the questions, where do we want to go? As I told you, strategic plan. For example, a company want to have another plant. So where we want to go? The company want to have 2 plants. 2 plants means what? Increase in the human resources. Variable, other variable considerations, sales projections. Whether we want to have more sales, more sales people and marketing people are required. Skills required in the potential business venture. Maybe they have a new department called as IT department. In the IT department, they need to have more IT professionals. Compositions of the present workforce. Through HR, human resource information system, they will come to know what are the compositions of the present workforce. Technological changes. Nowadays, a lot of changes are there in the technology. Cloud is coming in all the organizations. Artificial intelligence is coming. So, with human resource forecasting, what are the technological changes are coming? General and economic conditions. General conditions, that is the company's internal conditions, economic conditions. Outside, maybe they are projecting more sales, then they can have more human resource in the future. All levels of management should be involved in forecasting. Human resource forecast flow from bottom up. Try to understand this. Human resource forecasting flows from bottom up. The top manager or maybe the general manager of human resource department, he will ask all the department managers, how many people you need for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. These department managers, they will ask all the division managers. These division managers, they will ask all the supervisors, how many people you need this year or next year or the next 5 years. So the feedback is going from bottom up. Maybe one of the department is giving, we need 20 people, another department is telling we need 14 people, another department is telling we need 10 people. They will consolidate this. Then this consolidation will go to the top. Then the top managers in the strategic planning, they will decide about the human resource forecasting. Transition of human resources. This is a phase between human resource planning and selection. Before selections, there are many options. Those options we consider as transition of human resources. Organization determines how it can obtain the quantity and quality of human resources it needs to meet its objectives as reflected by the human resource forecast. In human resource planning, we did the human resource forecast. In the human resource forecast, we have determined we need a specific number of talented people. So before going to the selections, this means before going to the selections, there are some options left that is coming under transition. Activities pertaining to transitions. Recruiting and selecting new employees. We can go directly recruiting and selecting the new employees. Now this is very interesting. This slide is very much important. Those who want to build a career in the human resource management. So recruitment and selections, before going to the recruitment selections, some of the companies, they want to decrease the operating cost. If they go on employing maybe hundreds of employees, they used to have lot of operating costs. So to reduce the operating cost, they have many options before going for selections. They can develop current and new employees. They can develop the employees, present employees, they can develop by giving more training, or they can give the training to the already new employees. Promoting and transferring employees. There are other options. They can promote the employees or transfer the employees from one department to another department. Then laying off employees. Sometimes some of the employees are absolute and indisciplined. They can lay off the employees. Unproductive employees can be laid off. Or maybe one of the plant is closed and the plant is very much absolute without technology. So they can lay off the employees with full benefits. Discharge employees. These are the options. Some of the human resource department now confidentially maintain a replacement chart for each employees. Most of the organizations, they used to maintain a replacement chart. Now recruitment. As I told you before, people are getting little bit confused and they are thinking recruitment and selections are synonymous. It is not synonymous. Recruitment comes before selections. It is a phase that comes before selections. It is creating a pool of job candidate for selections. It is just attracting the candidates, not selections, by giving advertisement, visiting the colleges and universities, campus selection, so on and so forth. It is very interesting. Sometimes most of the recruiters, they go to the campus selections. When they are going to the campus selections, they are not going to the one college, one university. They have many universities and many colleges, but the person who is involved in the recruitment, the recruiter, the person from the company who is going to the colleges and universities. Recruitees, the people who are interested in the job. These recruitees, sometimes they used to become overjoyed by thinking that they will be 100% selected. Recruitment is not selection. It is just attracting the candidate, creating a pool of job candidate from the pool of something like 1000 candidates. They may select 100. That is the recruitment. So sometimes some people, they are becoming more than happy. They used to overwhelm with joy. Such and such company came to our campus and our job is guaranteed. It is not like that. Recruitment, it is a drive to create a pool of job candidate. It is seeking and attracting a supply of people from which qualified candidates for job vacancies can be selected. After that, there is another important phase, that is selection. If internal sources prove to be inadequate, external sources are always available. Sometimes recruitment can be done from internal sources also by giving job postings in the intranet, or else they go for external recruitment. And before selection also, they go for temporary help also, some of the organization. What is this temporary help? People working for employment agencies who subcontracted out to business at an hourly rate for a period of time specified by the business. This temporary help is nothing but contract employees. Some of the educational institutions also, if they don't have proper budget, they used to have contract teachers. Some of the company, most of the companies in Saudi Arabia, about 40% of the jobs are not on the payroll. They are contract employees. This is a trend everywhere. These contract employees are from temporary help. During organizational expansions, they are used to augment the current staff. This will help to increase the current staff. During organizational downsizing, they become flexible staff that can be laid off easily and recalled when necessary. Contract employees, they have their own benefits, advantages. Whenever there is an expansion, they hire the contract employees. When they want to close the plant or downsizing the plant, it is easy to lay off them because they don't have to pay the what you call the benefits. The contracting company will look after. It is having a little disadvantage. The disadvantage is that lack of commitment to the work. Those people, contract employees, are not self-motivated. There is another option in recruitment, employee leasing companies or PEOs, professional employer organizations. These professional employer organizations, these are the most common type of organization in Western world. They provide permanent staff at customer companies. They used to take care of everything. Within the contracting company, there are two types of contracting company. One is unprofessional employer. They also supply to the Aramco and SABIC. And there are professional contracting company. These unprofessionals, what they do, they will not give more benefits to the employees. Sometimes they don't give salary for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. They will not give charges for IQAMA renewal. They will not give medical benefits. Those are the unprofessional. This is the difference between professional and unprofessional employer. Both are contract employers. Both are the suppliers to Aramco, SABIC and big companies. Professional employers, they are highly organized. Look here, the professional employer organizations, what they do, they provide permanent staff at customer company. They have standby also. They keep the employees and engineers. For example, one or some of the 10 engineers, they don't have job. They will tell them, okay, be with us, wait for 3 months, just be in the residence. We will call you maybe after 3 months, 4 months. So whenever the parent company asks for the new employees, they provide immediately. They issue workers' paycheck. They used to give paycheck every month without fail, like the parent company. They take care of personal matters. Personal matters. They give housing allowance. They give at least what you call visa and residence permits to their dependents. Okay. They give annual ticket, vacation, so on and so forth. That health benefits, take care of personal matters. Then ensure compliance with the workplace regulations. Not only that, they follow labor law in letter and spirit. They provide various employee benefits also. Sometimes they give bonus also. Even these what you call the contracting companies, there are many high profile contracting company. One of the best example of high profile contracting company, Bin Laden group of company, who was having billions of contract with two holy mosques. They give what you call even bonus also. Provide highly skilled technical workers for long-term projects under contract between a company and a technical service firm. A good example is that in two holy mosques in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca and Medina, they have contract for 10 years, 5 years, 10 years. So they provide employees for longer projects also. That is what we call it as a professional employers. In recruitment, we have internal and external sources. There are internal source of recruitment also, external source of recruitment. Internal source of recruitment is having certain advantages and disadvantages. External source of recruitment is also having certain advantages and disadvantages. Internal source, certain advantages. Within the company also you can have recruitment. For example, there are many people working as contract employee. These contract employees could be considered as internal sometimes. Companies has better knowledge of strength and weakness of job candidates. Like for example, there are many co-op students working as a intern co-op students. They work maybe for what you call 1 year or maybe 6 months. Then the company has given them temporary employees or something like that. So they become internal. Or maybe some people, they are working in the lower positions. That could be the internal. So there is advantage with the internal recruitment. Company has a better knowledge of strength and weakness of the job candidate. They know more about the job candidate because they are internal, they are already working with them. Job candidate has better knowledge of the company. Not only that, on the other hand, the job candidate who are in the lower positions, maybe operator 3 can be recruited for operator 1. So they have better knowledge of the company, no need to give orientation. Morale and motivation of the employees are enhanced. When we are recruiting within the company, their motivation will be increased. The return on investment that an organization has in its present workforce is increased. Return on investment is more because already they are on the payroll. When they have been recruited for higher positions, just the nominal increase in the salary they have to pay. That means the return on investment is more for these internal recruitment. They have certain disadvantages. People might be promoted to the point where they cannot successfully perform the job. Sometimes they bring influence from political influence. They bring political influence or influence from other managers. In such a case, not really deserving candidate will be recruited. In such a case, what happens? People might be promoted to the point where they cannot successfully perform the job. They are not in a position to perform the job because sometimes they come with influence of the internal other managers or from the political pressure. Infighting for promotion can negatively affect the morale. For example, in this internal recruitment, maybe an excellent employee has not been promoted, an average employee will be promoted, so there will be infighting for promotions. Inbreeding can stifle new ideas and innovation. So because of this, new ideas and innovations will not be much more. Whereas the external recruitment is having its own advantages and disadvantages. External recruitment means what here? Going to the colleges and universities, campus selections, giving advertisement in the website, giving advertisement in the newspaper. That is simply external recruitment. It is also having advantages and disadvantages. Advantages, the pool of the talent is much larger. The pool of the job candidate, for example, the company needs 100 people. From the external sources, it may get 10,000 people. The pool is much bigger. Talent is much bigger. New insight and perspective can be brought to the organization. New generation, younger people with latest knowledge from the colleges and universities, they can pop in the organization. They bring new perspective to the company. Frequently, it is cheaper and easier to hire technical, skilled and manager employees from outside. What is happening? For example, this is to be analyzed properly. The last point, frequently it is cheaper and easier to hire technical, skilled and managerial employees from outside. For example, an engineer is working in the company from the last 10 years. When he has worked from the last 10 years in the same company, his salary maybe, for example, it is 20,000 real. When he has been promoted, he has to give increase of another 1,000 real or 2,000 real. The cost to the company is what? It is not cheaper. The company is paying 22,000. Whereas when they get for the same position from the external recruitment, there is competition. There are many people who want to work even for 10,000. Frequently, it is cheaper and easier to hire technical, skilled and managerial employees from outside. This is the biggest advantage for the external recruitment. It has little disadvantages. Attracting, contacting and evaluating potential employee is more difficult. Attracting, they have to give advertisement in so many newspapers and web channels. Then they have to wait for it. They have to visit many colleges and universities. It is cumbersome. Contacting and evaluating potential employees is more difficult. So it has to go through so many phases. It is not easy as we can get quickly from the internal recruitment. Adjustment or orientation time is longer. For example, this is a common problem in the Gulf countries. That is why most of the recruiter, when they are recruiting outsider, they will ask, do you have what you call Gulf experience? Because when they are coming to the new situation, new orientation, the orientation and they take longer time. Sometimes they may leave also because the cultural difference will be there. Adjustment takes a lot of time. Moral problem can develop among those employees within the organization feel qualified to do the same job. Sometimes what is happening? For example, they are hiring an engineer. Engineer in the market, a lot of engineers are available. The pool of the talent is more. If the company want 100 engineers, they can get 10,000 applications. From these 10,000, think for example, they are selecting instead of bachelor degree, they can get master degree also. When they hire master degree on the salary of diploma candidate, what happens? After joining, his morale will be down. He start comparing. Oh, diploma holder is also getting the same salary, whereas I am masters is also getting the same salary. The morale of the qualified candidate will go down because of lesser package. These are the internal and external recruitment. Now, as I told you, recruitment is before selection. Now comes the selections. Selection, decision making is very much important. Selections, human resource personnel department does the initial screening of recruit. How they do the decision making in the selections? First, the HR department, they used to do initial screening. Then the final selection decision is left to the managers of the department with the job opening. First, the human resource department, they used to support by initial screening of the CVs. then those CVs will be sent to the specialized managers. For example, an accountant to be appointed, it will send to the finance manager. For example, an engineer to be appointed, it will be sent to the operation manager. For example, salesmen to be selected, it will be routed to the marketing managers. Final selection decision is left to the manager of the department with the job opening. Less frequently, the human resource personnel department is responsible for both the initial screening and the final selections. In a very rare cases, the initial selection and final selection will be done by the only HR department. An alternative approach is to involve peers in the selection decisions. Another best method of selecting is that we need to involve the people who are having long standing experience in the department. Selection procedure. Most of the company, they follow a lengthy selection procedures. There are many steps. Most of the companies, they follow steps in the selection procedure and possible criteria for eliminating potential employees. In this selection procedure, I have just taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. In every step, there will be elimination, filtration of the candidate. First one is, let us go for this, preliminary screening from the applicant's form, resume, employer records, etc. This is preliminary screening, making a telephone call or maybe checking the resume, CVs, etc. Here, how they filter: in advocate, educational level or performance, experience record for the job and its requirement. Maybe a position needs BS, they got more diploma, that will be filtered. Maybe the position was, they were asking they need to have 7 years of experience. If less than 7 years, it will be filtered. Many people will be filtered at the preliminary screening. Then you will have preliminary interview. What is this preliminary interview? It is something like telephone interview. In the telephone interview, they will just check, after selecting from the CV, curriculum vitae, they will just call to the candidate and they will ask, are you interested to work in the company? Sometimes what is happening, they may bargain for the salary. The company salary is different, the expected salary from the candidate is different. If the candidate is asking the salary that is not allowed by the policy of the company, they may be rejected. Obvious disinterest or unsuitability for job and its requirement. There are many factors, including salary also. There will be elimination. Sometimes the employer is expecting some specific experience. That specific experience, practically the candidate is lacking. In such a case also, in the preliminary interview itself, the person will be filtered. Then comes testing. Various types of testings will be there. We will discuss in the following slides. Sometimes some of the companies, they have 4 rounds, 5 rounds, 6 rounds, psychological test, numerical ability test, then many types of tests are there. In these tests also, group discussion, so on and so forth. In these testing also, many people will be filtered. Failure to meet minimum standard on job related measures of intelligence, aptitude, personality. It may be intelligence test, aptitude test, personality test, technical test, group discussion, so on and so forth. Here, lot of filtration will be done. Up to this testing, if somebody is qualified under the testing, 50% he can be satisfied. After that, reference check will be there. Reference check is very much important. For the general candidates, they used to check the reference with the previous employer. If previous employer is not available, maybe he is a fresher, they will check the reference with the college professors and the principals about his character, so on and so forth. That is the reference check. If it is unfavorable report from the references regarding past performance, character, so on and so forth, here he will be eliminated. In case of very sensitive organizations, for example, a person is working in the bank, maybe he is working in the security department, maybe he is working in the military, maybe he is working in what you call high repute IT industries, there will be police checking also. They will send the report to the respective town and cities police stations to check the reference whether the candidate is having any criminal record or not. So after reference check is passed, then there will be employment interview. There is a difference between preliminary screening, preliminary interview and employment interview. Number 2, preliminary. Number 5, employment. Preliminary, telephone call, not face to face. Employment interview, face to face. In the reference check, most of the company, what they do, they will give company's prescribed application form also. In the prescribed application forms, they have different parameters. So after getting company's prescribed form, they can have employment interview. It is a face-to-face interview. Here, inadequate demonstration of ability or other job-related characteristics. In employment interview, sometimes they will ask the candidate to demonstrate their skills. If he is a programmer, they will tell face to face, talk something about programming and how you can program small apps or something like that. If it is teaching, they will take him to the classroom and they will ask him to demonstrate the teaching. That is very much common in most of the Asian countries. For interview for the teachers as well as what you call the lecturers, they will take demonstration. How they will write, how they will demonstrate, how much what you call audio visual equipments they are using, how confident they are. Confidence is very much important. Okay, some companies, they will have after testing employment interview, and some companies, they have reference check in the last. It depends on the company's policy. Some companies, they want to have reference check at the step 4. Some companies, they want to have reference check the last step. Okay. Employment interview, it is face to face where the candidate has to demonstrate well. Then physical examination. Physical examination is nothing but the medical examination. This is mandatory for every, because no company want to hire a sick person and pay a lot of money to the medical bills. Lack of physical fitness required for the job. If there is, he is lacking something like that, if they have iota of doubt about his health, the person will be rejected. Personal judgment. Intuition and judgment resulting in the selections of a new employee, inadequate demonstration of ability or other job related characteristics. Personal judgment, it is nothing but the panel of the board of interview, they will judge whether the person is really suitable for the job or not. So these are the many steps in selection. Now employment tests. There are several employment tests. Let's see what are these employment tests. Number 1, aptitude test. It measures a person's capacity or potential ability to learn. Like in the aptitude test, mostly the mathematical skills and other skills will be tested. How quickly a person can grasp. It is about IQ, intelligence quotient test. Intelligence quotient test, it measures the person's capacity or potential ability to learn. How quickly a person learns. You know, the employers, they want a person who need to have continuous learning abilities. Because of the new technologies, the employee should be a learner throughout his life. That is why the aptitude test is most important. Many companies, 90% of the companies, they do not want to miss aptitude test. Then psychomotor test. What is this psychomotor test? It measures a person's strength and dexterity and coordination. Psychomotor test is for technical people. How quickly his hand hands, fingers and body is moving for the technical environment. For example, working on a lathe machine, it is a psychomotor test. Keyboarding is a psychomotor test. Okay, and electricians, they have to work in the field. You know, the electricians, entry level jobs. I am talking about most of the entry level jobs. Most of the entry level jobs, they used to have psychomotor test. In the automobile industry, psychomotor test is very much important. The operators working in the automobile industry, how quickly they can identify the tools and how quickly they can use the tools. This psychomotor test, most of the automobile company, even after hiring also, they used to give a lot of training on psychomotor abilities. That is about technical people, how quickly their hands, feet, fingers, and how quickly they can twist and work according to the machines and tools. That is psychomotor test. Job knowledge test, it measures the job related knowledge passed by a job applicant. Job knowledge test, with the title you can understand well. Accountants need to have he need to know all the standards of accounting. That is the job knowledge test. For mechanical engineers, he need to know ins and outs of mechanical engineering. That is the job knowledge test. Electrical engineer, he need to know ins and out of electrical engineering. Computer science graduate, he needs to know ins and out of computer engineering and some of the software. That is the job knowledge test. Proficiency test measure how well the applicant can do a sample of work that is to be performed. Proficiency test, the person who is proficient in anything for that matter, he will do more quickly than the raw candidate. Experienced people, they are highly proficient in the proficiency test. For example, let me give an example for proficiency test. Keyboarding. If you are new to the keyboarding, your proficiency and your accuracy is less. If you have worked on the keyboarding, typing, I mean to say, maybe for 5 years, your proficiency will be more. Like this, it is applicable to many fields. Interest test. This interest test demonstrates how a person's interest compared with the interest of the successful pupil in a specific job. Some people, this is very interesting. For example, there is a job of electrical engineer, but the company is selecting a mechanical engineer who is having electrical engineer interest as well as electrical engineering, what you call, experience. Again, they will ask, are you interested in the job? You are a mechanical, but how you can do the job of an electrical engineer? So he will, if he is showing a lot of interest, practically he will be selected. So interest test is also very much important in most of the organization. Psychological test, it attempts to measure the personality characters. It is about the behavior. Most of the organizations, like in the insurance company, behavior is most important. In hotel industries, okay, guest, they need to treat the guest like king. Psychological behavior is more important. People should not have attitude. So psychological test talks about behavior, how he behaves with the customers, how he behaves with the co-workers, how he behaves with the manager. That is most important in the hospitality industry, I mean to say, in hotels, star hotels, they will check for behavior test. Polygraphy test, these are the very rare tests, not done for all the job applicants, very rare tests. This records the physical changes in the body at the test subject to answer a series of questions, popularly known as lie detector test.
Different types of employment interviews. Organizations use several types of interviews. The structured interview is conducted using a predetermined outlines. That means before the interview, the interviewers, they used to prepare well in advance the outlines to be discussed by the interviewees and interviewer during the interview. Structured interview provides the same type of information on all interviewees and allow systematic coverage of all questions deemed necessary for the organization. The use of structured interview tend to increase reliability and accuracy. With the structured interview, all the interviewees will be happy because they are getting more or less the same type of questions and it is highly structured. Within the structured interview, again there are two types of structured interview. One we call it as a semi-structured interview. Another we call it as a situational interview. What is this semi-structured interview? In the semi-structured interview, the interviewer prepares the major questions in advance but has the flexibility to use techniques such as probing to help assess the application's strength and weaknesses. The situational interview uses projective techniques to put the prospective employee in action. Situations that might be encountered on the job. For example, the interviewer may wish to see how the applicant might handle a customer complaint or observe certain important decision-making characteristics. Unstructured interview. Unstructured interviews conduct using no predetermined checklist of questions. This type of interview uses open-ended questions such as the interviewers, they ask the interviewees, tell me about your previous job. Or sometimes they say, okay, tell me about your experience in a chronological order. It is something like a very formal type of interview where the interviewee feels relaxed. Interviews of this type pose numerous problems such as lack of systematic coverage of information and are also susceptible to the personal biases of the interviewer. So in this type of interview, there will be personal bias by the interviewer to select the person who likes him. This type of interview, however, does provide a more relaxed atmosphere. Organizations have used three different types of interviewing techniques to a limited extent. Number one, the stress interview. The stress interview is designed to place the interviewee under pressure. In the stress interview, the interviewer assumes a hostile and antagonistic attitude towards the interviewee. The purpose of this type of interview is to detect whether the person is highly emotional. Another type of interview, we call it as the board interview or the panel interview. Here a panel of board members, maybe 3 members, 4 members or 5 members will be interviewing one person. In the board or panel interview, 2 or more interviewers conducts the interview. Then the third type of interview, we call it as a group interview. In the group interview, which questions several interviewees together in a group discussion. It is also sometimes used in the interview where large number of candidates to be selected. Board interviews and group interviews can involve either a structured or unstructured format. Problems in conducting interviews. Several common pitfalls may be encountered in interviewing a job applicant. Interviewers, like all people, like me and you, have personal biases, and these biases can play a role in interviewing process. For example, a qualified male applicant should not be rejected merely because the interviewer dislikes long hair on males. Generally, we used to have two different types of pitfalls in the interview. Two different pitfalls that we can call it as halo effect and horn effect. To understand this halo effect and horn effect, easy to understand, the first impression is the best impression. This we call it as halo effect. the first impression sometimes becomes the bad impression also. If someone gives a bad impression first time, people used to think this guy is bad. That we call it as Horn effect. This halo effect and Horn effect is also a pitfall. It is a shortcoming in the interview. These are the problems in the interview. What are these? Halo effects occur when the interviewer allows a single prominent characteristics to dominate judgment of all other traits. For example, an interviewee, a job applicant, job candidate is looking smart, having a sharp nose, fair color, looking to his white color and sharp nose, and he looks well dressed and sharp. We should not decide his brain is also equally good. That we call it as a halo effect. An example is the interviewer who believes that a candidate inherently good, that we call it as a halo effect, and so ignores evidence that might suggest otherwise. Instead of focusing on his behavior and intelligence, he goes with recommendations and look of the candidates. That is bias in the interview. Another bias most of the interviewers used to have. On the other hand, an interviewer may have formed the impression that the person who referred is not liked by the manager, and he relates to the candidate as bad. Horn effect. The interviewer becomes unreasonably harsh in their assessment of the candidate or employee and always ready to criticize and undermine them. Both the things are dangerous. These are the problems most of the organizations they face in interviewing the job candidates. Halo effect also to be avoided, and even Horn effect is also to be avoided. Conducting effective interviews. We need to focus on certain points while conducting effective interviews. Number one, give careful attention to the selection and training of the interviewers. Top managers, they have to put the panel members, the board members in the interviewers with proper training. Interviewers also needs training. Without, if the interviewer is not having training, he will have bias like Horn effect and halo effect and so many problems. Standardize the interview process and questions. An interview to be effective, we need to have structured interview, that is standardize the interview process and questions. Instruct the interviewer to put the applicant at ease. Unnecessarily, stress interviews should not be taken. Stress interviews are required for managerial jobs. Managerial jobs, you can put stress interview, but for the first entry level people, we should not put stress level type of interview. Instruct the interviewer to put the applicants at ease. The applicant, the job candidate, should be comfortable while giving interview. Immediately record information obtained during the interview. Whatever the information we are getting, that should be recorded with the table. Each and every interviewer need to have certain tables. In the table, they have to check certain parameters. For each parameters, they have to give certain grades that should be recorded properly. For example, there are 4 people in the interview. These 4 people will be provided with the score sheets. In the score sheet, they have to give out of 10 marks how much each and every employee is getting on so many parameters, maybe communication skills, maybe behavior, maybe education, maybe qualification, then communication, so on and so forth. They can make 5, 6, 10 parameters. So this should be recorded properly. Evaluate the effectiveness of the interviewing process. Interviewing process should be more and more effective. Performance appraisal. The employee performance appraisal process is crucial for organization to boost employee productivity and improve their outcomes. There are many methods of performance appraisal, 8 to 10 different methods. Here I am just focusing on 4 different types of performance appraisal method. Number 1, rating scale method. The rating scale method offers a high degree of structure for appraisal. Each employee traits or skills or characteristics is rated on a bipolar scales that usually runs from poor, good, very good, satisfactory and excellent. The traits assessed on these scales include employee attributes such as cooperation, how good he is in cooperation, how good he is in communication abilities, how good he is in initiatives, what about his punctualities, technical skills or competencies on the job, and the nature and scope of the traits selected for inclusion is limited only to the imagination of scales designer. So it depends on the person who designs the performance appraisal form. Mostly these are the parameters or the attributes they used to evaluate in rating scale method. In rating scale method, there is little disadvantage. One of the biggest disadvantage is a strong tendency for extremes to be avoided. Central tendency. What is this central tendency? For example, if a manager has to evaluate 50 employees, manager is very busy. There are some managers, they don't know their subordinates' name also. And these busy managers who is having 30, 40, 50 employees, how he will evaluate? He has to evaluate strictly based on his performance, who is excellent, who is very good, who is satisfactory and who is poor. A busy managers, instead of giving excellent and poor to be on safer side, he will give all the employees very good, very good, very good, very good. Central tendency. This central tendency to be avoided. For that reason, most of the companies in Saudi Arabia like Aramco, Sabiq as well as what you call Saudi Electricity Company, they follow a method, we call it as a forced distribution method. In this forced distribution method, very few subordinates will be rated as poor and very few subordinates will be rated as excellent. To overcome this, a forced distribution method, sometimes managers are given instructions to give evaluation proportionately. The top managers gives instructions to the lower level managers. You have to give performance appraisal in this range. For example, give just 10% poor and 10% excellent. 20% satisfactory, 40% good and 20% very good. For example, a supervisor is having 10 employees. Out of these 10 employees, as per the policies of the organization, he has to give one person as poor and one person as excellent, 2 people as satisfactory, 4 people as good, and again 2 people are very good. This way he has to proportionate. That we call it as a forced distribution method. Another method, management by objective. Management by objective, it is a system which attempts to improve the performance of the company and motivate and assess and train its employees by integrating their personal goals with the objectives of the company. You have learned what is management by objective in the previous lesson also. This management by objectives, it is also used in performance appraisal also. How they do it? The employee agrees with the managers with negotiation what are his goals and objectives to be achieved within a set period of time, maybe 6 months or within 1 year. The objectives are ideally expressed quantitatively and are taken from the key areas of the job. Then another method of performance appraisal, 360-degree method. Most of the IT companies, they follow this 360-degree method of evaluation. Some of the marketing companies, salespersons, marketing managers, sales managers, for them also they follow this 360-degree method of evaluation. What is this 360-degree of method of evaluation? Here manager is not evaluating, the immediate manager is not evaluating, or the manager's manager is also not evaluating. Here many people are evaluating one person. In the 360-degree feedback, this is a method and it is a tool that provides each employee an opportunity to receive performance feedback from his manager and 4 to 8 peers, seniors, then reporting staff members, co-workers, customers, and self-evaluation. Look here. In 360-degree evaluation method, 6 people are evaluating one person. Number 1, his manager. Number 2, peers, senior people, 4 to 6 to 5 senior people they have to evaluate. Then the people reporting him. For example, it is a manager's evaluations. The subordinate also need to evaluate the manager. Co-workers working at the same level. Customer feedback is very much necessary. Nowadays, this customer feedback of evaluation, it is automated. Then the self also, the individual, he himself will also evaluate. Then they have prorate the grades for each and every evaluations. Then they used to consolidate it. That is what we call it as a 360-degree evaluation. Transfers, promotions, and separations. Transfers, it involves moving an employee to another job at approximately the same level in the organization with basically the same pay, performance requirement, and status, etc. Within this, most of the organizations used to have plant transfers. Sometimes in emergency, some organizations used to have unplanned transfers also. Plant transfers are usually an excellent development techniques. So people need to be all-rounder in the organization. So it will help the organization to have backup facilities for the organizations. For that reason, people are transferred from one, department to another department. It can be helpful in balancing varying departmental workload requirements. Sometimes in one of the department the workload is less and another department is workload is more. It is a better idea, instead of terminating the employees, transferring the employee is the good reason. Sometimes punishment transfer is carried out if the employee's behavior is questioned. Sometimes a person or an employee is habitually late or may not be having good behavior and he is not coping with managers. He is not adapting to the managers. In such a cases, in rare cases, punishment transfer is also carried out. Promotions. Most of the organizations, they used to have promotions based on the timeline. Some of the organizations, they used to have compulsory promotions after 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. They have their own policies. The two basic criteria are merit and seniority. Mostly the promotions are carried out on the basis of merit. The person need to have at least very good or excellent in the last 2 years, 3 years or 5 years. It depends on the what you call the company's policies, and the seniority. Both past performance and potential must be considered. While promoting the employee, his past performance, how good he was in the previous 2 years, 3 years, whether he was very good or excellent, and the person who used to have poor performance or satisfactory performance or just good as their performance evaluation, he will not be promoted. Most of the companies, they follow this. Separations, in voluntary separations, many organizations attempt to determine why the employee is leaving by using exit interview. For example, sometimes an employee is voluntarily, he himself is want to leave the organization, separate from the organization. In such a case, Some of the HR people, they used to have exit interview and they used to take feedback why the incumbent is moving from one organization to another organization. This will help them to improve their retention policy. Involuntary separations involves termination and layoff. Most of the involuntary separations, it is based on the terminations or sometimes layoff. In case of layoff, employees are called back if and when the workload is increases. This is happening almost in all automobile industries. If the production is slackening, they used to have layoff. If the production is booming up, they will call back the laid off employees. Termination should be made only as a last resort. This should be the human resource policy of all the organizations. This is the last step. If nothing is, no options are available, then only the companies need to go for termination. That is why most of the companies, they don't encourage employees to terminate or to even to resign also. Now let us discuss, this is the last slide we are going to discuss, challenges of human resource management. Challenges of human resource management. We have discussed in the beginning of the lesson, human resource are the most valuable resource in the organization. When we follow this philosophy, human resource is the most valuable assets in the organization. There are many challenges organization used to face. Those challenges are compliance with the law and regulation. Most of the organizations, they follow regulations and policies from the government. When they are not following policies and regulations, they will be called back by the ministries to give explanations why they are not following specific policies. Some of the policies to be discussed here is that, for example, in some of the countries, they are focusing the employers to give more proportionate jobs to women. If they are not giving more jobs to women, it is questionable by the Ministry of Labor. In some of the organizations, they have what we call the rights of the sons of the soil. The rights of the sons of the soil, that is in Saudi Arabia, Saudization. Ministries are enforcing the organizations to have more components of Saudi employees. It is not only in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait they have Kuwaitization, in what you call Bahrain we have Bahrainization. Okay, every country they want to have jobs for the sons of the soil, and these regulations to be followed. These are the challenges for the organization. Management changes. Most of the time, the top level managers, mid level managers, they are changing frequently. Sometimes it may be with the recommendations, sometimes it may be with political influences. Some of the public sector undertakings, they used to have political influences. The top managers will be changed from time to time. These changes, frequent changes, is a big challenge, because when an organization is getting a new CEO is coming with new philosophy. His new philosophy to be implemented in the organizations, it may take at least 5 years. But the CEO will be transferred within 1 year, 1.5 years. So there will be confusion and chaos in all the organization if there is frequent changes in the management. Leadership development. This is one of the most crucial area in all the organizations. Leadership skills to be developed in all the ranks and files of the organization. Ranks and files of the organization, that means to say from the top level managers to the ground level employees, leadership skills to be developed. One of the case we studied in the beginning, that is Taj Hotel terror. The lowest level employees, entry level employees, they have shown leadership from bottom up. They were like leaders. They were trained as leaders. This leadership development to be focused. That is the most important challenge in most of the organization. Retention of talented employees. Talented employees to be retained. They should not be allowed to leave the organization. That is another important challenge most of the organizations are facing. If a talented employee is leaving the organizations, there should be an exit interview. In the exit interview, the human resource manager or the immediate manager of the employee, he need to keep the person who is leaving the organization happy with little more increase in the salary. That is the philosophy of what you call, we discussed, human resource is the most valuable asset in the organization. Workforce diversity. Workforce diversity has become always a challenge for the human resource management people. Different nationalities, different culture, different age group, they need to be worked in. If there is some what you call the differences, that is to be sorted out by the immediate managers. Transparent evaluation system. Most of the organizations, they don't have transparent evaluation system. As I discussed in my performance appraisal, central tendency. What is this central tendency? We discussed before. A busy manager, instead of giving a sincere evaluations to all the employees, he just go on ticking very good, very good, very good for all the 50 employees, all the 30 employees, all the 10 employees. There is no transparency in the evaluations. If there is no transparency in the evaluations, the high performing employees will lose interest in the organizations. They start performing low. Whereas the low performance employee will be happy and he will become more and more lazy. So there need to have a transparent evaluation system. That is the biggest challenge for the human resource management. This is the end of the lesson. Please like, share and subscribe to my video. Good luck.